Safety crackdown is underway across India, with regulators stepping up inspections of restaurants, hotels, quick commerce warehouses and consumer brands over alleged violations, from spoiled meat and expired food to poor storage, pest infestations and misleading product labels. Several big names have come under the scanner. In Bengaluru, a KFC outlet was raided after a customer complained of receiving foul-smelling chicken. Authorities sealed the outlet's godown and sent food samples for testing. In Mysuru, raids at premium hotels led to the seizure of large quantities of expired meat, including 68 kilograms from the Grand Mercure Hotel. In Bengaluru, inspections of hotels uncovered rotten meat, fungal growth on vegetables and improper segregation of vegetarian and non-vegetarian food. A Zepto warehouse in Hoskote was also sealed over alleged food labelling, handling and storage violations. Meanwhile, Maharashtra has launched a special drive targeting chain restaurants. The FTA inspected 104 establishments, ordered 2 to stop operations, issued 95 improvement notices and suspended 5 licenses. A Blinkit outlet in Thane also faced scrutiny after a video allegedly showed rats inside an ice cream freezer. The crackdown extends beyond restaurants. The FSSAI has acted against products over alleged misleading or unverifiable claims and has restricted the sale of certain whiskey and rum variants over alleged flavouring violations. Even Bollywood stars Shah Rukh Khan, Ajay Devgan and Tiger Shroff have received show cause notices from the Maharashtra FTA over an advertisement linked to a pan masala brand. With major restaurant chains, hotels, quick commerce platforms and consumer brands now under scrutiny, the question is simple: how safe is the food reaching Indian consumers? Joining us live at this point is Dr. P.S. Venkatesh Rao, senior doctor. We also have Dr. Salil Garg, cardiologist, joining us live. Mahesh R. Zagade, former Food and Drugs Commissioner, is with us live. He was the Food Commissioner for Maharashtra. Also, Advocate Sanjay Bansal, former Secretary, Supreme Court Bar Association, joins us live as well. How essential and important is this crackdown, according to you, Dr. Rao? And also, what do you make of these latest outlets which are raided and what has been uncovered?
I'm reminded of the old Hindi saying, "Der aaye durust aaye." High time the FDA woke up, and I hope Monday's example will stimulate everyone all over India to check. There have been all kinds of dangerous chemicals which are additives and added to various food products. The preservation, we are never very sure if it has been properly preserved, properly processed, and we are seeing even fake items like the fake paneer, which is rampant. So it is high time the FDA got cracking on all these people, and I would suggest that just like the traffic police has got surveillance cameras all over the place and a control room where they can see everyone. I don't know how effective it has been, but at least the FDA doesn't have enough staff. First of all, lot of vacancies are there in all the states, and I have written about this before. So first of all, they should fill up those posts and get active in these various checking various places. Secondly, insist on surveillance cameras in all these food kitchens and cloud kitchens, so that you can keep a check on it. Thirdly, MTR in 1960s came out with the concept of open kitchen. Now there are many restaurants in Delhi, in Bombay, in Bangalore. I'm sure there are other places where there are open kitchens. The customer can see what is going on inside the kitchen, and this is to prove to the customer that hygiene is being maintained and proper food is being. It is also a kind of entertainment to see the chef making the rumali roti or the tandoor for you. But the main idea behind it is that you can have the customer also keeping a check on what is going on. But it should not be limited only to the hotels. They should check where food is served everywhere. Inside school kitchens, inside college kitchens, hospital kitchens, wherever there is food being served, please check. It is not just the hotels. various other places, proper preservation may not be kept. And nowadays, with the kind of sensors you have, all these freezers and refrigerators and ovens in various places have their own sensors. Those sensors can also be connected
Yes,
to the
because this is very
network.
worrying. This is very worrying, Dr. Garg, with now rats uncovered from an ice cream freezer at a Blinkit outlet in Maharashtra. Many other violations have also come to light in that state alone with regards to, of course, this crackdown, which is underway not just in Maharashtra but across the country. What are the illnesses that people can get if food is contaminated, if food comes into close contact with rodents and other pests?
Uday, thanks for getting me on the show, and I would echo Dr. Rao's sentiments absolutely. There hai, durust hai. Food hygiene has been a major issue in the last 40 years or so. There used to be regular food inspections. Somehow, in the last 40 years, they got lost. As more and more people started eating outside, we thought that maybe, for example, a dish served in a five-star hotel or any of the hotels is at least 5 to 10 times more expensive than what would be cooked at home. And unfortunately, unhygienic practices lead to food poisoning and various diseases. After all, there are certain things like Delhi belly that we are quite aware of. In fact, there was a movie made by Amir Khan on the same. Similarly, food adulteration is a very important topic. Meat adulteration, especially during the monsoon seasons, where you can be fed poisoned meat. The third aspect is I've been in the army and we used to have regular sanitary rounds and we used to inspect the kitchens regularly. In fact, we would normally be tasting the food to see whether it is well cooked, it is hygienic, whether it can be given to the troops, because more lives have been lost during battle. Uh, Not because of the battle itself, but because of these kind of issues. So, it used to be a regular feature. Somehow, in the last 40, 50 years, it got lost in the den of progress, maybe, or this thing. It's a very, very welcome step. And I think the Food Authority of India, the FDA, and all should be more particular and more strict about it. Because one goes out for a meal, one wants to come back and not have the losies. One wants to have a good time, one wants to enjoy that meal. And unfortunately, this has become ubiquitous, whether it is in the street food, and unfortunately, it has escalated on to five-star hotels or even restaurants where we would have thought that they would maintain hygiene, but they are not able to.
Okay, let me quickly, in fact, also bring in Mahesh Zagade. Mahesh Zagade, of course, in your home state, in the state where you were the FTA commissioner, you're seeing, of course, the crackdown that continues. The latest, of course, violations found in the Blinkit outlet in Thane and other, of course, outlets as well of various restaurants and other food storage outlets as well. Mahesh Zagade, is this needed? Was this something that was happening earlier too, but was just not being reported, or is it now that this crackdown is happening in full earnest in Maharashtra and across the country? Also, should the laws as well evolve now over time, Mahesh Zagade? Are they strict enough in penalizing these violations?
See, we must really have a look at very holistic view about all these things. And unfortunately for this country, we have that kind of syndrome that mere Karan Arjun aayenge, wo aate hai, Karan Arjun, and then what happens is that everything is all right, and then everything becomes all right, and then okay, all is well. But this is food quality is very serious issue. It cannot be topical. It cannot be just said something, some action happens, and then we'll see that okay, now everything will be all right. It's not that. Now let's start from the food laws. We had food law of Prevention of Food Adulteration Act that was enacted in 1954, but it did nothing because it only looked at adulteration rates. That act was specifically for rates, and rates went on for 60, 70, 60 years, and nothing changed in this country because after raiding, the matters went to court, and then it remained there, and nobody was penalized. And even if somebody was penalized, this did not stop food getting deteriorated from the point of view of quality, or it did not stop adulteration. So government thought that like there something must be done, and then the Council of Industries they appointed a committee. They came out with the suggestion that we must have laws which are as per the national developed countries' laws, very stringent laws. So they enacted law, Food Safety and Standards Act 2006, very robust law, extremely well. All the regulations are there. Now, as far as legal infrastructure is, that is wonderful. Secondly, the infrastructure to implement that law, like Food Safety Standards Authority, and then they made a provision for appointment of Food Safety Commissioner for the first time in the country, who is supposed to be of the rank of not less than secretary to the government, state government. So everything was all well. Now, after doing this, what was remaining was implementation of this law, and that implementation was nothing to do with raids. Now, what is happening? Like epidemics of raid is going on in the country, raids, and everybody is feeling that okay, for the first time raids are happening. Now, for example, in Maharashtra, if you have got 16 to 18 lakhs of food establishment, and if you have got 1,000 raids or 1,500 raids, nothing is going to change for the 16 to 18 lakhs of food establishments. And that was not the intent. Now we have to look at how to increase the food quality. Now, number one, what is the landscape? Landscape is that 85 to 90% food today consumed by Indians is still from the home kitchen. Now, what about the quality of the raw material that is used in the home kitchen? That is the major thing that affects even the toddler to the old person, not just for people going and having food in restaurants and five-star hotels and five-star clubs. No. Main thing is about this 90% people have sourcing food. Now, what is the grains? Now, whether the grains are pesticide-free, whether the oil coming is also unadulterated of quality, the fruits, vegetables, everything, the concentration has to be there. I think that is missing. So, what is the international practice? In 2022, the Food Safety Index came out, and in that India is ranked 62, Canada is number 1.
Okay.
So what? Yes, please.
Okay, I'll come back to you. You know, you made some very important points there, but you know, on the legalities of it, and Sanjay Bansal, why don't you take that? You know, that question I was posing to Mahesh on how strong the laws currently are. Do they need to be strengthened given the crackdown that we are seeing across the country? Should the laws as well on food adulteration and these food violations be strengthened further? Are they strong enough currently? Also, Sanjay Bansal, as a consumer yourself, but also, of course, as someone who is a prolific advocate, how do you see this crackdown that we're seeing and what it's uncovering? I mean, it seems to be just the tip of the iceberg.
Thank you, Uday. And I think much of the ground has already been covered by my fellow panelists. In fact, you're talking about the laws, you know, the problem is not of the law. In fact, the absence of law is not problem. Law is there. But a law is as good as its implementation. You know, the implementation of the law has to be forceful and effective. As has been pointed out by Mahesh, you know, 2006 Act, you know, it is a very, very, very good law. But the only thing is, and as we have seen in Mumbai now, that the FDA commissioner is taking such a strict action for last about 5-6 days, you know, or rather a week or 10 days. We are seeing all the establishments and you know, vendors are you know, following the law, which should have been otherwise. You know, there should not be any force, you know, or the authority which persuade them to follow the law. The law is there, you know, regulations are there, it is, and all the vendors are supposed to be, you know, follow that law. Particularly about this issue, you know, basically this issue will have to be divided in 3 broad issues, basically. That is the food safety, vendors accountability, and consumer rights, basically. You're asking me about the consumer rights. As far as the violations are concerned, FDA takes care of that, you know, penalties are there up to 1 lakh for, you know, not keeping hygiene or other, you know, food safety concerns. They are taken care. The only thing is the officers will have to implement it on the ground. But, you know, the problem would be if you know, the authorities and the officers on the ground, you know, they are not properly looking after, as Dr. Garg was pointing out, when he was in, you know, army, he was, you know, having a regular inspection of the, you know, galleys and the food preparation places. That should be the spirit, you know, the authority, the officer on the ground, he should or she should have been, you know, taking up this plea. That's one thing. Now, the second thing is, as far as the vendor accountability is concerned, the law takes care of that. If the prosecution happens, that things can be fixed. Now, as far as the consumer rights are concerned, you know, we can talk about the consumer rights. The rights have been safeguarded under the Act, under the regulations. but will come to the consumer right as soon as they stale food or some there's something wrong has happened. Only then the consumer right will arise. That protection is not there under the FDA. It is for the prevention. The consumer right after the delivery of contaminated food or stale food or bad food, then we'll have to go to the Consumer Protection Act. There is no other act as such which takes care of the consumers, basically. Of course, then we can prosecute, for, defective services or, wrong delivery of food or the food items or all other things. So basically, I would say that ultimately, the consumers don't care whether the food comes from, restaurant or supermarket or delivery app. Basically it has to be safe food, and that has to be ensured by the authorities. So consumer can only expect that. And of course, this particular area of the last problem, the government may make certain more stringent laws with respect to that. And of course, one commissioner, FDA commissioner, if he can do that on ground in Maharashtra, then why not other states and other cities, big cities? As has been pointed out, in 5-star hotels and in regular high-profile eateries, there are certain guidelines that even the establishments take care of their house.
Okay.
But the roadside food vendors and the fly-by-night vendors will have to take care of that also. So these are the issues which I think are to be taken care of.
All right. Let me, in fact, quickly also take that back to you, Dr. Rao, now on, of course, the health concerns coming out. As a senior doctor, what are the health concerns that you believe now consumers should be aware of, that they can face if they're eating this stale food, if they're eating artificial food, if they're eating food where rodents and pests and unhygienic conditions are? Is it time for the consumer as well to wake up and demand more?
It is most important that the consumer wakes up. If we consumers are going to think that these regulators will really act, I'm sorry, they have not been acting, neither in the food nor in drug quality. You remember the cough syrup episodes of many children dying because of wrong chemicals. Now, as far as food is concerned, we know that carcinogens like menthol green and various other menthol yellow, and various other colorants which are known carcinogens, means they will cause cancer, are being used to make peas look green and dal look yellow. And so there are, and the recent episode here in Bangalore where they found someone was injecting red color into watermelons. So this is a huge problem, plus the infection. If we are going to have rats, cockroaches and everything else contaminating the food, and if you are going to have fungus growing, the fungus can have mycotoxins which can be deadly. They can kill you. Food poisoning, and remember recently in US where the taco lettuce caused a major breakout of infection in the US. So however good the regulators are, the customers also have to be very alert and keep checking. And if Tukaram started this off in Maharashtra, here and the health minister had ordered, that's how a lot of things came out in Karnataka. I just hope other states also get active, and customers should read. I have often written about all this in the newspaper, but I don't know how many people really read it and bother about it. And customers should use the social media to create a stink when they find something seriously wrong, so that people will act. In Karnataka, action was taken after the stink was raised in social media.
Okay. Yes. And that's something, of course, that must start from consumers. That must start from consumers, Dr. Garg. And that will only happen if they're aware also of, all that can go wrong potentially with their health if they continue eating this kind of food, Dr. Garg, isn't it? Now, as far as, of course, SOPs are concerned, should those be issued as well for all restaurants, hotels, food storage places? Should that be done afresh, Dr. Garg? Is it a problem of SOPs or is it a problem that they're not being implemented on ground?
Uday, all my fellow panelists have brought out these points very well. And let us say the problem lies with the chalta hai attitude. Somehow over the last 40 to 50
Because at the end of
years,
the day, Dr. Garg, now there is this, there is a mushrooming of these quick delivery apps and, fast food
Exactly.
outlets. And these are just growing. But the problem is if the quality is being compromised at them.
Exactly. Uday, you look at it, how the culture has changed from a time when we would not dine in each other's houses or we would have major social stigmas on in dining with each other. We have reached a stage where we can eat anything, anywhere, and without any gumption. Anyone can serve us anything without taking care of basic hygiene. Adulteration of milk has been practice in our country. Issue. There have been so many movies made on that. There have been so many songs made on that it really worries you. The point is that somehow we came to a stage where we started accepting it. No food of ours is actually pure or unadulterated. So much so that we had to go in for organic farming, that where we started saying, okay, if I grow lettuces at home or if I grow tomatoes at home, at least that is not going to be adulterated. As Mr. Zagde also said, sorry for my mispronunciation. There are more than 18 lakh eateries out there. People out there, unless people get very, very particular about it, no, I'm not going to eat out here. This is unhygienic. Unless you go and report, unless you tell the guys who are serving, ki, please give us some hygienic, please follow hygienic practices. These things will not change. Believe me, we get so many diseases, whether it is typhoid, whether it is cholera, all these are waterborne food diseases. And you go out and have bout of food poisoning, especially during the monsoons. They are at times criminal and they are at times fatal as well.
Yes, indeed. Okay, let me get quick closing comments now, Mahesh Sagade. Quick 30 seconds to you on the way forward.
What is that? The situation about the food quality and adulteration in this country is appalling. I don't want to scare the viewers, but that is the thing.
Yes.
But having said that, the rules are robust. As I said earlier, the implementation is not that the implementation is not happening. Many states they are doing it very well. Unfortunately, they are not bringing out in the public domain. When I was a commissioner FDA 2011 to 2014, the implementation was far more than what is happening now. But we were not allowed to come to media. My chief secretary would immediately call me and say that why these things is coming in the media. So it is not that nothing was happening. See, there is what is the spirit of the law?
Right.
From farm to fork. Everything should be licensed, everything should be monitored and not raid. So that is what is expected. And if you want to really change health profile of this country, you need to implement this law robustly and diligently. What is given in the law,
okay,
not for the media. Of course, I'm speaking on media, but the thing is that it has to
absolutely
be implemented.
So the law is there, but the implementation somewhere has been lacking. How can that implementation be improved further? Last word to you.
Implementation is
Sanjay Bansal, last word.
One second. Secretary Health and Secretary FDA and Minister of the Commissioner FDA, they have to be held responsible.
Okay.
Not the food establishment. These people have to take that
Point
front of the mess.
Point taken. Sanjay.
Yes, actually, my point, the last walking part would be that the state FDAs have the statutory power under the law. It is their responsibility. They have the power to investigate, stop unsafe practices, suspend licenses,
yes,
impose penalties, send people to jail and prosecute. So unless that happens, I don't think it is going to send any message to the defaulters. One thing. Second thing is, of course, the public awareness with respect to, taking care of the hygiene wherever you are eating.
Okay.
We have developed this tendency of eating everywhere. That has to be taken care. There has to be a social awareness on this, in this regard. So these things, unless these things develop, like we have in Western countries, they are having problem when they come to India, having Delhi belly, but we go throughout the world and we don't have any problem. So that has to be taken care, by public awareness as well as by strict implementation of law. That would be my point.
All right. I appreciate you joining us with your thoughts and perspectives, all our guests. It's time for a short break. Much more on the other side.
सस्ते वाले दाल मसाले स्वाद हुआ